And hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 15 of the HOU.SEC Cast, the HOU.SEC.CON podcast. Sam and I are talking to Arthi Vasudevan today, and she is going to be talking about her book, Cyberama. And we're going to be staying in that theme around online safety for kids and how parents can really get a hold of that situation and really give some good advice and some anecdotes on what Sam and Arthi and I have done raising our kids as well for online safety. So I hope you enjoy the show. All right, Sam, we are back for episode 15, man. Can you believe it?
It's pretty fantastic, right? And a lot of good content coming too. A lot of good speakers that are going to be joining us here too
Yep.
for future ones. So we're going to keep going. That's awesome.
Yep. Well, speaking of speakers at HOU.SEC.CON, Arthi Vasudevan has joined us. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Yeah, we're recording this on a Friday. May not be pushed out on a Friday, but everybody who's listening, we are getting ready for the weekend right now. So very excited about that. So Arthi was a speaker at HOU.SEC.CON last year, and she came out with, Sam, you want to show her book? You got a picture of it there. She came out with, well, the backgrounds all like to do funky stuff, but we've got Cyberama. She wrote that. That came out last year. You did a book signing
At
last year.
HOU.SEC.CON, yes.
Yeah. And you've got a second one coming out as well, correct?
The second one features a very special villain's face of our very own Michael Farnham. But yes, book one was on IT security, book two more on the critical infrastructure. So pretty excited.
So I'm going to be attacking critical infrastructure. Thanks. I'm a little worried about this, but hey.
Your words, not mine.
I know Michael. I'm not worried about him attacking critical infrastructure.
I'm really not much of a hacker, so it's okay. Well, we're really excited to have you on here. We're going to go into our main segment and talk about some stuff around HOU.SEC.CON and the news, and then we'll get into our main segment and talk all things Arthi. So let's get into the HOU.SEC.CON segment. So first of all, last night we had this at the time of this recording, it was last night, we had our first user group. HOU.SEC.CON user group, HSC user group, whatever you want to call it. Really successful. We had a lot of people there, had great sponsor, had great speaker. Everything went really, really well. Really appreciate everybody who came out. The next one is going to be on March 28th. And we've got Clint Bodungeon, who's going to be coming out talking red versus blue, threat gen, tabletop exercises using AI. It's going to be pretty cool. Really excited about that. I know, Arthi, you like tabletop stuff, so I think you need to join us for that one. I think I've seen what he's doing with red versus blue and the tabletop using AI, and it's really cool. It generates a lot of cool scenarios for you and stuff. So excited about that one. That one's on March 28th. For everybody who is trying to sign up for the first one, we did have a two-step process. We're not going to have that two-step process anymore. You'll just be able to register for it, and it's first come, first serve until we fill up. Just know that if you come there and you sign up, we're going to put this on the website and everything. There's no selling allowed there. Please don't come there and sell. We did have somebody yesterday who was kind of handing out business cards and flyers and stuff, and we had to tell them to stop doing that. This is no disrespect to salespeople. Everybody's got a living to make, but we just don't want people to feel like they have to come to our user group and be pressured and all of that good stuff. So please don't do that. If you do that, we will politely ask you to stop, and so on and so forth. We're nice. We're not going to chunk anybody out. Well, maybe not. Sam might, but
I might. But that's because I'm a sales guy by trade, and HOU.SEC.CON is very important to me. So it's a very personal thing, and that we do want the vibe comfortable for everybody, so that they don't feel like they have to. If people do that, people aren't going to show up, and that's
exactly
not good.
Right.
This is about sharing information with the community. It always has been. We want to make it comfortable for everybody. And by the way, like that's where salespeople should be there for it, to learn. Right. I mean, Justin Hutchins, shout out to him. He had a great presentation on AI last night. Yeah. And then, and also side note, shout out to Chad Spensky as well for leading the effort, right? Because there's a lot of work involved that we do day to day for some of this stuff. But it's a learning opportunity for everybody. And I'm a big fan. I've sat in those sessions for years and I've learned so much and grown as a professional. So it's encouraged to be there. It's just, don't carry your job in.
Yep. 100% agree. So, next, HOU.SEC.CON. What's the status there, Sam?
Wow. So really exciting. We're almost sold out on tickets already. And we obviously sponsorship sold out very quickly as well. We are, when we first started this, the whole premise was to kind of dip a toe in the water and see if this is something the community wanted. And holy moly, the community wants this. So I am super excited about that. We got some great topics lined up. The agenda is almost finalized. Great speakers all identified and everything, and the topics will be great. I have a lot of people we're seeing coming from the plant side of operations coming to this conference, which is exactly what we wanted to see.
Yep.
Right. So looking for a lot of breaks involved there too. So we're going to have a lot of time to be able to communicate and talk and network and all that stuff, but really excited for that. But if you don't have a ticket, I would go do that right now and make sure that you get it, because we will sell out. And it's very clear that we're going to sell out very, very soon.
Absolutely. And that still is a two-step process,
Yes.
curated, but hopefully next year we won't have to do that because we'll grow it up a little bit and be able to pull some other folks in. But yeah, I'm very excited about it. Sam, you've done a fantastic job getting that agenda done and getting other sponsors in there and stuff. So thank you for all your efforts for doing that. I know that this is near and dear to your heart.
It is. Thank you. I mean, absolutely happy to do it. I'm excited about it. This is what I get up at in the morning for. So really excited to see this happen.
Awesome. So the other things we've got, still got tickets on sale for HOU.SEC.CON. Obviously, those will be on sale for a while. And then HOU.SEC.CON is still, we're getting a lot of people showing interest in that. That one's later in the year, in July. So you got a little time, but don't waste the time and miss out, because we will sell that one out as well. Sponsorships are still there for both of those as well. HOU.SEC.CON's got quite a few sponsors lined up. So jump in there. We're doing, again, limited sponsorships and limited tickets for that one. HOU.SEC.CON, we've got a ton of sponsors already, but we've still got room because it's going to be a much bigger show at the George R. Brown. So if you want to sponsor that, please jump in there. We're going to have hopefully close to 2,000 people there this year. So you're going to have a lot of exposure. So please come in. Anything else, Sam, we want to talk about HOU.SEC.CON?
Well, no, I just side note that we walked that facility the other, Lauren and I did the other week with Gary, and wow. Yeah, it's going to be bigger, but it's also exciting. And the arena that we're going to get to do the keynotes and stuff is really cool. I'm excited about that too. So
yeah,
the venue is going to be very cool.
It's like TED Talk type. It's going to be crazy. So
we can pretend, but yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into the news segment. So today we wanted to talk about some new federal children's privacy requirements. They're going to be updated. So if anybody is familiar with the COPPA rule, which basically has some protections up to, what is it, Arthi? I think it's 13 years old currently. They're starting to extend some of those rules all the way to 17-year-olds. And obviously with Arthi's, if you're familiar with her book with Cyberama, you understand why this is a topic that's near and dear to her heart, but it's near and dear to all of it. We've all got kids and we want to make sure they're protected. So I just thought it was interesting in this article, and we'll have the link down in the notes, obviously, that it's just really a big legislative topic this year. There's going to extend some of those COPPA rules to 17-year-olds. It's going to really give some more. Some people see them as restrictions, but I think there's a whole lot of issues there, privacy issues that we need to be concerned about with kids, and targeted more and more and more. And Arthi, I'll let you give your side of it, because I know this is something you focus on a lot, but just the amount of kids that are targeted out there and don't necessarily have all of the, just aren't thinking about, they just want to access stuff, right? I mean, it's just kids, like, want to see what's going on, and people take advantage of that. So I was kind of happy to see this article. This is specifically from the National Law Review, but I was really happy to see some of this stuff getting extended. I think some of the changes, I don't know that all of the COPPA rules are going to apply to this, because there's some changes to the COPPA rule itself as well, 2.0. So, but Arthi, I'd love to get your take on what you think about this move.
Absolutely. And thank you for, making space for this important topic. Just as important as securing the critical infrastructure, securing our next gen who might turn into hackers is very important too. And a lot of it starts with awareness. To your point, kids don't know what they're looking at. While trying to come up with, some pointers for this segment, I was reading some very disturbing articles, very real darknet diaries and whatnot, right? So, but this one, the specific article that you talked about, talks about a few things. I'm referring to my notes. Talks about age verification, right, by websites. And I'll share a specific example about a game, Fortnite, in a little time. Talks about targeted ads. What kind of ads? Is it age appropriate, or is it asking them to, or even prompting them to do something else, right? That kind of stuff. And then transparency around the recommender system algorithms. So companies have to be more transparent and produce in code documents about how their recommender systems work, algorithms work. And then all these companies should protect minor safety by default. Now, this is so subjective. What is considered default to one person may be something else, right? So it again, this is applying more due diligence for those companies to start thinking about things. But I think it's a good start. And I was also reading another article about how a California judge approved to move forward with a case which is associated with fentanyl death related to Snapchat, right? I thought so. Two of these things happening in parallel. And this article came last month. So two of these things happening in parallel is definitely comforting to parents like me and everyone out there that the government is taking this seriously and that companies are being held liable to act more responsibly. So it's a good start. Only a start.
Yeah, I mean, the COPPA rules themselves were a start, right? But just the fact that they're getting updated and taking the next step, and then hopefully it continues. I mean, I do think there's a point where things get so restrictive that you can't get anything done, and we do need to find a place where we're protecting the kids, but also the internet's there for them to learn and things like that, so they need to have as safe of a place as they can get. So I'm happy for the rules. I think most people that watch this know that I'm not a big government guy, but this is an area that I can support quite well, that they start protecting kids. So,
well, I have to say too, I mean, we could make a whole show out of this thing, right?
Yeah.
Because it ties into where my principal core here is like, and to your point, I'm not a big fan of government guidance. Everything I've seen on age verification can easily be messed with or hacked, if you will. You use that, and kids are really good at that, right? And so they want something, they'll get it, and that can be a good thing for them to understand, because that's how we grow the next generation of the good guys, right, if you will. But this starts with parenting, in my opinion. Yep. Right? And if you're not parenting, you're not watching your kids. I was very restrictive with my kids. They weren't allowed on social media until they got turned 18, right? Literally. And even then we had long talks about social media and all that kind of stuff and what it meant and things like that. But I'm in the space, right? And I understand it. So which means we need to make sure parents understand the implications, right? When you hear those news stories, it's usually because they had no idea their kid was doing X, Y, or Z, right? And so, it's a broader rule. It's nice to see that, there's some attention from above, if you will, but at the same time, it's not going to prevent these things from happening, in my personal opinion, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I like the word long talks. Talk to your children. In even these stories, I will share with my children. There are two ways, right? I could think, oops, I don't want to scare them about dying from an illicit drug that you purchase from an app that your friends are mostly using, or sexual abuse and exploitation and grooming. Don't want to scare the heck out of my daughter, right? And let them have nightmares and even lose the ability to trust people and make good friends. Not going to do that. But I think it is parents' responsibility to also decode them, simplify and say, hey, listen, these things are happening. I want you to know. I'm not going to get into details. We will talk about it when you're ready. And when I feel comfortable, how to explain it to you, but know that this is happening. Yeah. that awareness alone, and knowing that, you know what, I heard it, so I'm sensing something wrong, that they feel comfortable to come back to me, and parents, yep, that they know that we are trusted, they won't get into trouble. If they did something bad, they can still come back to us. That trust goes a long way in raising the next generation of ethical digital citizens. So glad you
Yep.
mentioned that, Sam.
No, yeah, I agree. It comes down to parenting overall. But having some of the tools and having some of the protections there also help, because you can't be with them all the time, right? So
That's
I
right.
think there's pluses and minuses, but ultimately it definitely comes down to us. So, all right, well, that's it for the news segment. So we will go into a break, and then on the other side of that break, we will talk to Arthi. So, all right, give us just a little bit, and we'll be right back. Okay, we are back. Thanks for coming back from the break. So, Arthi, let's talk about you. Actually, let's talk about you, and then we're going to talk about your topic. So, do you want to spend some time discussing kind of what you're doing in cyber these days? So, I don't think I mentioned your title first at the beginning. You're product line leader of cybersecurity at GE Vernova. Give us some details about kind of what got you into cyber and what you're doing these days.
Absolutely. So I ended up got into cyber by chance, like many of the cyber professionals would say, because I'm a product manager, right, after 10 years of experience in electrical and control systems engineering for the critical infrastructure in the oil and gas and energy space. And cybersecurity happened to be a product that I manage. So, but I just got, it just felt like, you know, you were part of the police, you're actually helping securing the world. It just felt so right. It really felt like, you know what, this is my calling. It is a product, yes, but I just fell in love with it. And 2021 HOU.SEC.CON, I'm an attendee. That was my first year. It was, $50 ticket in, right there, just to go out, network, changed my life. So thank you both. You have a part of why I did this book, right? Spent 2 years on a book and writing a sequel. Please know that you have a really big part in it. And you mentioned Clint earlier. So Clint was in one of the sessions and he said, we all can give back in ways we can. I am not a network security specialist, right? I know enough to speak, right? Because again, this is my product. So I know things from anti-malware to managed security services and all that. But that really got me thinking. That was the same year I spoke about this fentanyl case that happened in 2021. That was also the same year that my kid got a Nintendo Switch and started playing multiplayer games with strangers on the internet. As a mom, as a parent, I was freaking out, knowing some of the threats out there. I literally couldn't go to sleep, right? Not like I had nightmares, but I was very anxious and restless, knowing that I need to do something about it. And we all start somewhere, just like how you started HOU.SEC.CON, and look at what it has come up to now. So that same night, I started writing my book. I wish I could show the first thing I created in a slide deck PowerPoint presentation, because I thought I didn't know how books are created, but I at least put my thoughts. One thing led to another, and I started doing more research, bought all the books in that space, which Rob Lee from Dragos, he has a book too, right? And about SCADA systems, but for kids. And then my other favorite mentor, Savvy Cyber Kids, this person, Ben Halpert, he does a lot of great work in this space, who also has a full-time career as a CISO. So it's all very inspiring that people who do have demanding jobs still take the time to educate kids. So that's what led me on this journey. And this book briefly talks about, I intentionally made a female, Maya, an Indian American 7th grader, because there are not many females in STEM in general and in cybersecurity.
Yeah.
So I wanted girls like mine to start wanting to be in this STEM field and do exciting stuff than Barbie. Just watch Barbie. Barbie's good. No, don't get me wrong. Right? But more. And Dave. So they play a virtual reality game called Cyberama. And without them knowing, they give their personal information. They get in trouble. Her Maya's house gets ransacked. And then they are victims of social engineering and cyberbullying. So much happens, but in each level of the game, they learn about password strength, they learn about personally identifiable information, they learn about different types of malware, but it's in the form of an adventure thriller story. But the key takeaway is awareness, right? I think just by having these conversations and by making kids feel empowered that it's their decision. Now you have the knowledge. Now you know what is right, what is wrong. The decision is yours instead of preaching or telling them, because Sam, you were mentioning earlier about, some restrictions as a parent, but also in combination with long talks. Yes, it is impossible for my husband and I to watch what my kids are doing 24/7. And the average hours of kids playing online games in a week is, want to take a guess how many hours you think on an average kids spend on online gaming?
Oh gosh.
They're my kids, and it's probably close to, I mean, these days it's probably close to at least 6, 7 hours of games through the week, but it may be more than that.
20.
Yeah.
Can you believe that, right?
Yeah.
Sure, there's this age range and different skew and all that, but 20 hours. So it is impossible for parents to be looking at every single action they're doing. Kids don't want that also, right? But by having this conversation and putting some guardrails saying, these are okay, with strangers on the internet, no, you can play with the computer, right? But even if you must play, chatting, no, big no, right? Even if there is a chat, let me know. We'll take a look at it. And if there are prompts that you do this, get some bonus points, let me know. We'll talk about it together. Because one thing may be okay, but some other things to get more points and then do something, big no. So just having that conversation, getting to know the lingo, I feel that alone goes a long way.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, we might as well just jump because we're in the topic now. I appreciate you running into it. It was, back when my kids were first started playing online, they were all Minecraft. And I think Minecraft is still out there. It's just not as popular as
Still
it
big.
was. And there was one of the proudest moments I ever had as a father with my daughter. There was a specific community that all of my kids were on, and it was a protected and very highly guarded community. And, they had moderators on it all the time, and they enforced a lot of rules. So it was actually really safe community. And she set up a place in Minecraft, like a stage, built it all up, and then invited all of her friends, had it scheduled where all the kids would do this. They would have little talks they would do. She did a whole talk on online safety when she was like, I don't know, she was like 10 years old or something. It was crazy.
Wow.
And I'd been teaching her about this stuff too. And she got up and said, it just did like a basic, like cybersecurity awareness, like online privacy awareness thing for like 5 minutes and just, typed in all of the things you should, because there was no talking on it on Minecraft. And she would just type in all of the things to be, and kids, they were like 10, 15 kids just sitting there watching her and taking this in. I was like, this is the proudest moment I've ever had in my life. My daughter, she just was doing that. So I think it is absolutely important. I remember us, growing up, at least me, in the 80s, and it was all the kids are spending too much time on TV because there wasn't any online gaming there. It didn't really have computers in the house that much. So I think part of what you're talking about on the topic is how do we, and correct me if I'm not putting this out there correctly, but basically, how do we turn kids into they're doing this stuff into not scaring them so much that they're scared of technology, and that they can still, and we can use this, like you said, you had a female on there in the book. How do we turn that interest into being into, want to be like, and people who are watching this understand the term hackers, that we don't mean that bad, but they're next generation hackers. They're the kids that are going to be in STEM. I mean, how do we do that, Arthi?
I think platforms like these are a good start. And like I said, when I did my research for the book, again, Ben Halpert with Savvy Cyber Kids, he's doing some great work. In addition to books, he also released a latest book on Parents' Guide to Online Gaming, things like that, right? And I try to go out to the community and to the schools and offer complimentary workshops. I'm doing one tomorrow in a coding camp in Houston. Just talk about, because those are the people who have interest whose parents also want their kids to go into learning coding, because coding is an essential skill. Unlike even a decade ago, it is an essential skill now. So people who know the skills, how can we encourage them to be on the good side? So it all starts with the basic, right? What do we it's all learned behavior, right? Kids, when they are born, they don't know they shouldn't touch fire, right? But it's all learned behavior. Stranger danger, good touch, bad touch. You lock your doors and you add layered security. So everything that applies to the critical infrastructure space actually applies to the home also. Same things like password protection, your personal information. So one thing just drives me crazy is when I see these yard signs. I'm like, do you want everyone to know that you're celebrating your child is celebrating 15th birthday today? So there you go. You just gave away and then posting
Or
pictures of
what's on the back of the car, right? They list all 5 kids'
Mhm.
names and exactly
Yeah.
what sport or whatever they're in. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's
And then
not
they're going to
not
take
yeah,
soccer. Yep.
not good operational security, not good OPSEC. Yeah.
No, you're spot on. And the scary thing too, right? So back to your question, I'll close the loop on that question. So where to start? Yes, more and more talks like this, awareness and educational system, which is why, again, I'm still trying to talk to more schools about this. I
Mm.
think class teachers, I think the teachers need more education. My son's class from last year, he was in another school last year. Her class school teacher had a link. It was an HTTPS secured link, but it was in the email signature of her, the email, right? But I was just curious. I sent the link to my sister who lives in a different city. Hey, can you take a look at it? Are you able to access it? She said yes. So even though, it was in an email, anyone can access it. Anyone with the link can access it. When I into that, it was the school's page, where it was the teacher's page on the school's website, but it also had a Twitter feed, the teacher's public Twitter feed on the left. So I just did some snooping around, clicked on her Twitter account, which is set to public. From there, I could find, so when you sign initially at the beginning of the school year, you can choose for your child's face not to be shown, right? So they put an emoji on top of our kid's face. It won't be published in out of district brochures and all that stuff. So, but then I could find faces of other kids. Do those parents even know their kids' faces out there for use by anyone in the dark web? Forget dark web. Anyone in deep fake videos, anyone can do that, right? Today,
Mm-hmm.
anyone, seriously, with very little knowledge of coding or hacking. So, and then I learned about her that she's expecting a new baby. It was, and then the baby is born. And the cutesy picture from hospital with pounds, date of birth, it's out there. And of her older child, the first day of school proud picture with her house number shown and
Oh,
everything. I mean, all and pet name. Great. That is probably your password too, right? Your answer to your
or your
secret
password
question.
reminder, at
Mhm.
least. Yeah,
Yeah, but the
Yes,
more
exactly.
or
people that
the
do that, the more people that do that, the more confusion it can start. I mean, it's like reducing the risk if you've got more people to go look for those pictures, right? I'm being a little bit tongue in cheek on that, but I don't disagree with you either. But at the same time, it's some of that is a little bit I don't want to say overblown. That's not what I mean, but like the risk of that is probably lower to somebody opsecking my kid. um I say this having sons, right? So it's a different situation if you have daughters for sure. And if I had daughters, then I would probably have a much more paranoid attitude towards it. And then, earlier we were talking about Arthi, you were talking about you didn't want to scare your kids. I actually did scare my kids. I wanted them to be afraid, of engaging in that chat and things like that, right? And they're boys, so it's a little bit. And I'll say for me, it was just a little bit of a different situation, and them thinking growing up that I could monitor everything in the house, centrally. So you better not be doing something you shouldn't be doing because I'll find out. Right. And so they, everything from surfing the web with the doors open and everything. If they're on their computers, the doors were open. There was no, privacy as far as that went. But I think it's different for everybody a little bit. And I think there's some reasoning. Like I do agree, like you should be a little bit more protective. Like you should. I mean, I don't have my Facebook photos. I just still use Facebook because I'm an old person. But that's a way for me to share with friends that I have internationally and family that are all over the place. But everything's set to private. Like you can't see any of that stuff, and you
Yeah.
should know those controls. Again, comes back to the parenting, right? And do the parents need to understand this too? So,
Well, I think it goes back somewhat to that article because you're going to have some of these platforms that by default don't have some of those security measures allowed, or by
sure.
default, even if they have them, they're not turned on by default. I mean, Facebook, when we first, they changed those permissions so many times back in the day that all of a sudden I had a private post that was public. I was like, what in the world just happened? If you have those protections in place, and it goes back to what we talked about a few episodes ago, secure by design, right? That kind of stuff needs to be a primary consideration when you're making those platforms. And kids jump on those platforms because their friends are on them, and it's like, oh, this new one's all the rage, let's all jump on. And I remember I thought, oh, I'm pretty savvy on the new stuff that's happening, and all of a sudden my kids would tell me about some platform that I'm like, what? I have never heard of that. And they're like, oh yeah, all the kids. I mean, now we wouldn't allow them to get on it. They couldn't download apps. And even speaking of that, Sam, my kids couldn't, they didn't have computers in their room. If they were on computers, they were out in the main living space. Not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I was a little more restrictive on that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do have a daughter. So we tried to be, sometimes we probably scare her a little bit. And she's older now, but she gets it. So it's just, I don't know. The world seems a lot more dangerous than when I was growing up, driving, riding on my bike and, going and collecting cans and paper routes and riding all over the place in the 80s. It's just like I don't know. It just seems like a much more dangerous world than it was back in the day. But
well,
that's
bad
old
places are
man, get
easier
off
to
my lawn.
access.
Huh?
Yeah, bad places are easier to access now with digitally, right?
That's absolutely true. Yeah. It does feel a little,
Digital.
it just feels a little old man get off my lawn type of, but it is what it is, right? It's a different world than when we were growing up. So
it is.
I don't know.
Yeah, but I think we can, again, with proper awareness and getting them interested, we can gain that to our advantage too. Because again, Gen AI, hacking, everything is here to stay, right? Just like, because there are a lot of police officers, is crime like 0%? No, crime rate, no. It is going to be there, but we can leverage it to our advantage. And and totally agree with both of you, having a daughter versus boy, that does make a difference in your perspective as a parent. And every family's rule is different. And I tell that to my kids too. Because of course, I don't want my son to miss out on talking about Minecraft and Roblox with his friends or Fortnite with his friends. Yep. But at the same time, when he says, Mom, I want to play Fortnite because this kid is playing, right? An older kid is playing. Okay, it's also making the time to understand. You don't need to play. I don't have the time to play, even if I may be interested, but at least I sat with him. So I found out that Fortnite has like 5 versions. There is I actually, Battle Royale, Save the World. Anyway, 5 different versions. All of them have different PG rating. So we said, hey, only one of them is for all PG-3. Yeah. Everything else is 12, 13. You're not that yet, so you cannot play. Yes, initially there was some fighting, there was some state of denial from him. He was mad. But again, I'm not saying rules are rules, right? I want to be a fun parent too. I want him to talk to me, but say it firmly. Say, you can play this version, but you can't play that version. So I feel like, and he helps me whenever he sees a screenshot, now that he knows that I'm doing this, when he sees something that, Mom, I think, do you want to take a screenshot for your webinar? I'm like, yes. So, right. So I actually have fun talking to kids about these. And we even have difficult conversations. Again, going back to parenting, good touch, bad touch, what's the right age to do this, that. Sometimes it's uncomfortable, but having those conversations, I feel I'm getting closer to my kids. Also learning the trend, like you said, Michael, there's this new website. Now I know. I feel, and role modeling too. We have some rules at home. Meal time is screen free. No, it's digital free meal time. Yep. Whatever happens, even if I have to be on an important call, not during meal time. That's 1 hour we get with kids to talk about how the day went. So that's I think that lets us observe things. And many times parents were so busy running around. Many kids may not show up, right? Some are introverts, extroverts. So you may not see obvious signs of being cyberbullied, that the kid's so away, sitting in the corner of a room. But even if it's a small change in the tone or a behavior, like you were testing for echo, ask them, hey, is everything okay? I'm here if you want to talk about it. Just say that and move away, right? And they know that they can come to you.
It's a good point.
Absolutely.
So maybe jumping forward a few years, how do we get these kids now going from just gaming to being part of a cyber workforce? Like, how do we get them excited and interested? And your book is helping with some of that, I think, right? And coding camps, things like that. But what else can we do, as parents to kind of guide our kids to a career into the cyberspace?
I strongly feel the education system, the schools should have a talk about cybersecurity early on. Like only in the past 3-4 years, I feel there are even courses on cybersecurity, right? Like formal degrees on cybersecurity. I didn't have it actually when I went to school. It was computer science, electrical engineering, and something like that, right? I feel that would be good. Start on early, like from ninth grade on, STEM-based focus things. As much as I am proud to see a lot of STEM camps for girls, it shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be, everyone should be interested in, but it is still sad, when I go to such STEM camps, that the number of population of girls versus in general schools, not just girls camps, the number of girls, so very few. And I don't know myself. Is it that parents are not talking about this at home, or girls are not just interested into it? I don't think so, right? If you talk more, maybe they will like it. I feel girls are not challenged enough. Even kids are not challenged enough. So more, and companies can also do hackathons, get them for kids, not just for 18 plus, but from 12 to 18. How many kids? I feel those kids who may not even be coding experts, but who are experts in chess and math, they will be good at hackathons too, with proper training. So I feel companies have a role, schools have a role, but it is never early to start. Maybe from the age of 12 to 18, that's a good age too.
HOU.SEC.CON for kids?
Yeah.
We've talked about doing something,
We have.
but we just it's a resource issue. But yeah, somebody out there that wants to bring something of interest to kids, we'd love to support it. So
Yeah, absolutely would. I know all the parents that
HOU.SEC
are in
kids.
cybersecurity would want to bring their kids to things. So, um, Lauren, we just gave you some more work. Lauren's like, I don't need any more work to do.
And Arthi already gave us a name. It's HOU.SEC Kids, right? So anyway,
HOU.SEC,
yeah,
I love the HOU.SEC kids. That's great. Okay, we got a new logo to create and a new website to get up. So,
Tell you what, after, oh gosh, I always do this, take more on, but after book 2, if there's bandwidth, I'm
we'll
happy to
circle
okay,
support
back.
that.
Lauren, we
You're
got to
on.
volunteer. Well, Arthi, unfortunately, we have to cut this off because we've got a lot of good content here, though, a lot of good conversation. Really, this is a little bit different than our typical, cybersecurity talk, but I think it's majorly important that we get this word out there. Sam and I both, I'll speak for Sam, but I know he'll echo it. We really appreciate the effort that you put into Cyberama. We absolutely love the partnership with HOU.SEC.CON. It just gives, I don't know, I'm getting goosebumps right now thinking about the partnership and how the effect we can have in the future. So I really appreciate you being a part of HOU.SEC.CON and doing Cyberama. And I'm looking forward to seeing my face as a villain. Very excited about that. Let me know if you need any headshots. I'll get those to you. But no, thank you so much for all you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And again, just to close up, remember, it's all about the basics. Password strength, unique passwords, all that stuff, personally identifiable information. It comes down to the basic, and please talk to your kids. So that's your call to action. Thank you so much for having me. And I am proud to be associated with HOU.SEC.CON in many more and more ways.
Thank you, Arthur. Appreciate it very much. Means a lot. Sam, any parting thoughts?
Yeah, I think there's got to be a part 2 somewhere with Arthi, for us sometime. So great discussion. Thanks. All right. And looking forward to HOU.SEC.CON. Don't forget to get your tickets. HOU.SEC.CON tickets are on sale. Go do that too, right? Let's see you there. Be part of the community. I'm excited to see everybody again.
And be on the lookout for the user group. Next one coming up March 28th. So, all right, everybody. Thank you for joining us for episode 15, and we will see you on the next one.